Megha told me that I'm going to be here and I'll be doing this session, I also got to know a couple of other things about him, like how he was one of the youngest people on team and he has had leadership qualities since then, and he was still managing around 6 to 8 people there. And he also has a very thoughtful approach when it comes to stuff like making people feel special about things. One such incident that I got to know was there was a meeting that everyone was going to go off in the mornings at around 9, and he still managed to get breakfast for everyone and make everyone feel a little special and better about the day. So that is Akshay for you. Uh, and there are other such incidents as well where he's handled situations with utmost calm and composure. So I'm just really excited to be here and have this opportunity. Thank you so much, Meera, and thank you so much, Akshay, for being here and taking
Thank
our
you.
time for this.
Thank you for having me, Priya. I must say that I've had the good fortune of always having some very good people around me in my team, people who are seniors. Megha was somebody who was very kind in terms of always speaking her mind and being very honest with those people who worked in her proximity. And I think I gained a lot from that. It's not easy because she set some very, very high expectations. I hope that has changed. I hope that has not changed too. But it was extremely rewarding the time that I shared with Megha, be it while we were at work or while we were just having a meal together. So the exchanges were always very, very rewarding. And you are in a fantastic place. I think just look around you. You have the right set of people. You have people who do such diverse things. Uh, so I don't think you have anything to fear. Just go and ask people any kind of questions that you want to ask them. And I think you'll always get your answers.
I'm sure that'll be the case, and that has been there. Uh, so before we start off, I'd just like to introduce Akshay to all of you all. Akshay is the digital lead for the Southeast Asia region with Mondelēz International. And he's basically responsible for creating a seamless experience for Mondelez consumers whenever they engage with the brand, both in online and offline worlds. Uh, he's had like a very vast experience, and he's been working with brands like L'Oreal, Reckitt Beckinsale, Subaru, MoneyGram, and a couple of Philippine giants as well, like Smart PLDT, SM Retail, and there's MGI Hospitality. And a really cool thing, or I would say very different, is that he has a rare interest in mixology. And he also has a hands-on experience with it for around 6 months while he was in Philippines. So Akshay, is there anything that you would like to share about that experience with us?
So I come from a family which is North Indian, so it's a common joke, right? During breakfast we discuss lunch, and during lunch we discuss dinner. So that was very common in the family, and I know that's across India, across other regions as well. And my sister and my brother-in-law both happen to be chefs, so they cook professionally. And mixology was something that I was always interested in, and it just happened to be where I went for a couple of sessions, uh, 3 or 4 hour sessions on basics of mixology, and I got hooked. So at the same place where I was to be a regular guest on weekends, I ended up clearing tables, uh, putting together the garnishes, juicing lime and lemon. Yeah, I do get a lot of invites for house parties, and it was great fun because you think it's a very attractive, fancy job, but once you're standing behind the counter and you have different kind of customers who are throwing tantrums at you, and at the same place where you were a guest, and overnight your life changes. It was very humbling. It was really nice. I think that experience really uh, taught me a lot about myself. And it was recent. It was when I was in the Philippines 4 years ago. So during the morning, I was at the agency in my role as a business director, and then in the evening, I would be doing everything from taking orders to setting up the bar for the first 1 month. And then later on, I moved into actually putting drinks together and getting to learn the entire journey of classic cocktails to regular cocktails. It was great fun. Anybody who can do some kind of a side internship at whatever age you are, I think I would love to try and go back to that. Back-breaking, but very, very rewarding.
That's great too. I'm pretty sure like I would want to do something like this now. Would definitely try my hand at something like that. So to begin with, we know that you're a part of Mondelez, and growing up, Cadbury has been a very important part of our childhood. So what is one Cadbury association that you've seen in India which is very different in other markets? And also if you'd like to share your favorite Mondelēz product memory or Cadbury memory at all.
So for me, I think the favorite memory with is associated with Cadbury. I don't think that product or that SKU exists in metros or tier one towns. It used to be the 5 rupee or 2 rupee Cadbury bar. It used to be extremely slim and it came indented with that Cadbury logo. That was special for me because I used to accompany my grandfather in Delhi whenever he used to go to buy groceries. And my chance was, when that loose change has to be given back and he would give you candies, I would say, listen, can I just get that one? So that's my Cadbury association. And yeah, it's good and bad that everybody thinks that Cadbury is uh, a product, but it's also a company. It has multiple extensions of its own. So much so that even now, if I'm meeting family in India and they say, where do you work? I don't say Mondelēz because they won't get it. So I just say I work for Cadbury and they then get it. Uh, so yeah, that's the Cadbury Connect with my childhood and my favorite product. But there's so many brands that Mondelēz has in its own. So if I throw names, Toblerone, Halls, Clorets, Tiger biscuits. A lot of these are not in India. Milka. I don't know if some of you have had this in Europe. Milka is like dairy milk. It doesn't enter markets where dairy milk is present. There's Eden cheese. There is Philadelphia cream cheese spread. Then there are a lot of acquisitions that we have made in the smart snacking space. Cakes and pastries. Chipita in South America was recently bought over. So Mondelez as a company is moving towards healthier snacking. And that's a trend you must have seen in the foods business in the FMCG space over the last 10, 15 years, right? So that's something that even we are doing.
Okay. And what is one thing that you've seen or noticed, I would say, that is different for like the Indian markets or how people in India perceive it, or otherwise, like in the other regions of Asia or other markets of Asia?
So I would say there are certain common threads that are existing across markets. Everybody wants to eat healthy, eat right. Sugar is something that people are not very attuned to. So a lot of brands are trying to move away from that. I remember working with Megha on Nestle back in the Nestle days, and the biggest concern that the brand manager had was how much of sugar can he reduce from the recipe mix. So that's one. The other thing that I noticed is also that sustainability is becoming a very critical factor. People today don't pick up vegetables which are wrapped up in plastic, right? They go and bag it themselves. There's that consciousness that is playing. The difference is that there are variations in terms of how the product can be consumed. So in some markets we have products like Oreo wafer, for example, in Indonesia. You remember in India we have Picnic, PICNIC, the wafers that we used to get. So those brands, the same brands exist in other markets in these variations because they're catering to local tastes. And even the communication that they would have is different. So Cadbury is a chocolate that you can melt and you can bake it into a cake. So in Malaysia, there are a lot of campaigns which we are inspiring people to put together recipes together in the kitchen. And that kind of got accentuated because everybody became a home chef in COVID. And some of us still continue to do that. So I would say local tastes are different. The same chocolate has a different variation in terms of the level of sweetness. The Cadbury that is made in India, I would say it's higher levels of sweetness as compared to some of the other Cadburys that are made in Southeast Asia. Our portfolio in Vietnam is very different. We have a lot of soft cakes. Um, we have soft cakes. We have Oreo there and CDM, but soft cakes rule the market. Those are the kind of tendencies that we are seeing play up. So one of the questions which was emailed to me was saying this might come up is, I think it was about 80% of the products sell get you, most of, sorry, 20% of the products get 80% of the revenue. So how are you balancing the portfolio? And balancing the portfolio is to ensure that your strong products are not getting eroded by the newer products that you're getting, and the newer products are those that are catering to these evolving consumer tastes. So trying to find a balance between the both is tricky. At the same time, ensuring that you don't confuse the customer with the volume of communications and the offers and the products that you throw at them.
That was nice to know. So you spoke about consumers and different things. So how exactly do you or Mondelēz as a whole understand the consumer better or map out their journey or get a better understanding as to where are they? Because consumers are evolving, and as you said, post-COVID,
Yep.
the rate of change in behavior has significantly increased, and it's rapidly increasing than what it was actually expected of.
Yeah, I think it's your question is also connected to what Akhila is asking on chat. She's saying that how is Mondelēz managing to do amazing campaigns every year and come across with such path-breaking innovations. It's one of the answers to that would be we are fairly integrated as an organization, because when I say integrated is that the feedback from the sales and the trade ecosystem, the feedback from the media or the partnerships from the creative agencies that we have is very, very strong. And then my role typically sits in a way that my role is a single seat role. I'm connecting the dots amongst certain channels. So if trade has done something which acquires consumer data, I'm ensuring that it is sitting in a silo which is compliant, shareable, scalable across the other channels. So nothing, no excellence sits in one pocket which might be digitized or can be digitized. So the ability to do innovations, I would say, is predominantly ensuring we have our ears on the ground. We have a strong alliance with, like I mentioned, not only just trade, but also some of our measurement partners, and our creative partnerships in most markets have been able to leverage that kind of an understanding. Uh, on the corporate side, what I've seen is that there's a very clear understanding mapped out about the customer at the start of the year, about what we know from multiple touch points. For us media agency folks, it could be social listening and search inputs, but then there are also a lot of offline initiatives that are being undertaken, focus group discussions, feedback from trade and retail, which tells us about what is the kind of evolution. And then most importantly, don't get obsessed with your brands by ignoring the category, because the category is something that you have to exist within, and the direction that the category moves also is critical. While you still want to be the Oreo, while you still want to be the Tiger biscuit or the Cadbury's Dairy Milk, what is the category evolving to or asking for? So those are certain inputs that come in at the right time. And then I think we also have some 2 year and some 5 year plans, long-term plans, which we know are going to be big bets, and we plan for them. We ensure we have people, we ensure we have a strategy, we ensure that the strategy is backed up by these insights.
Right. You spoke about like having different products and portfolios. So I did come across a very interesting collab recently, which was with Oreo and Blackpink together. And
Yes.
the campaign has been launched in different parts of Asia, but it hasn't happened in India so far. And I haven't heard of any announcement in India so far. And I'm a huge fan of the Korean music or as such. So what was the thought behind that? And are there any plans that of it being launched in India or it coming to India anytime soon?
Uh, Sorry to break your heart, but no. Sorry to break your heart for the second time that yes, I do have a lot of Blackpink cookies on my kitchen counter. Sorry to break your heart, it's not coming into India because it's not a sizable base. Uh, how we look at who is it going to resonate with. That was very strong as a calling for us in Southeast Asia, and there are also certain decisions that this partnership would have taken from a regional perspective. So it was important for us as a region to do this, and we found the right kind of partnership. We also found the right kind of recipe mix that elevates that experience. It's not only about Blackpink. When you say Blackpink, you think about the band, but when I say Blackpink, I'm thinking about the two variations, the SKUs, the offerings. What are we trying to do at each market? So no, it's not coming. But yes, we see a lot of trading happening on social media where people are asking for it in the US and people are shipping it from Indonesia to the US. Before it hit the market, there was black market also, which was active. So it is good to see that response, but it's also scary because you have to take care of trade volumes and sufficiencies within markets, and you don't want to miss your goals on that. So yeah, that was the Oreo Blackpink partnership. The response has been humbling. It has been great, and hopefully, it'll take us in the direction that we want to go with Oreo.
Okay. I might soon hope that there are other product launches that might happen in India. Interestingly enough. So again, you spoke about partnerships, and recently ONDC and Mondelēz partnership has made some noise, and we've come across articles. So would you like to throw some light on that one? And
Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah,
can
I,
take
I
that.
saw that question. I won't be able to comment on it because I work in the SEABU. So between Singapore to Korea being an export market. So that is being done in Indonesia. And I think that is not a marketing uh, play, that is more from a trade and a sales fulfillment piece. I also see that evolution happening in multiple other markets where people are realizing that this monopoly in India, it's basically, Amazon and Flipkart. In Southeast Asia, it is Lazada, Shopee, Tokopedia in Indonesia, and then there are small. There are some brands which exist in silos in Vietnam, for example. You also have Tiki. So there is a sense of domination that these marketplaces are, coming up with. And I think the ONDC piece is because we are a manufacturer, we make fantastic food products. We want everybody who wants to buy our products, and these can be wholesalers like the grofers and uh, the big bazaars, or it can also be the single hand customer who is just doing pantry shopping. We should be available to both. So the ability to tap into that digital ecosystem is what I think that approach is. You've seen that in the case of beauty happen with Nykaa, for example. You have seen that in the case of some brands which go hyper niche, where I remember there are certain categories which are only taking care of beauty, which is basically eyes, lips, face, hair, just those areas of beauty. But yeah, you are also seeing now the uh, maternity care segment evolve with Alia Bhatt investing in it and a bunch of other celebrities investing in it, and they are also putting up their own standalone marketplaces where you have multiple brands, scale up. So yeah, I think that is a very different piece. I won't be able to give you any details because of course, myself, I'm not aware about it. But we see this happening where there's a challenge where we don't know anything about a customer, right? Name, email address, phone numbers, those information is not being passed back. All we know is GMV, conversion rates, off takes of certain SKUs, and while it is good, but it's also scary. We can't have those kind of dependencies amongst just maybe one or two players.
Oh. Anil, you have a question?
Yes, yes. Thanks, Priya. So, Akshay, the ONDC is one of the things. Sorry, it's just echoing here. So, OND is one of those things like in which you are venturing into, right? Like in the multiple things where Mondelēz is getting into. So, like any new things, like you guys are there first. So, I'm keen on understanding, like in digital, like you set up a complete separate digital team under the FMCG. You guys were the first one to do so, and a lot of new things are coming up. So we've seen like so many ads and so many awards being won by within digital also.
Yes.
Just I wanted to understand, like, if you could give us the progress what you have made, like, there are a lot of nuances and changes are happening in recent world. So, what are the martechs you are using it, like, and how are we tackling the new age challenges now? AI and ML
Yep.
being like played very well, and it is affecting our martech as well. So,
Yep.
is there any development in that?
So there's not a development as such. Predominantly before this phase, I think there was this era where we used to, call up our media partners at say an Inmobi or a Silver Push or any of these players that we constantly work with, and they used to say, oh, I have a new format of a banner or a video, and they used to typically play in the, how do I say it, in the media space. The solutions were very, very media driven, which will be a banner or a video, or possibly a script on a website. Now what has happened is people have understood that there are a lot of innovations available that can create experiences. and people are attracted to those experiences. So something as basic as, what is that spectacle brand? Lenskart came up with the trial solution. That itself was an innovation, and that itself became the uniqueness of that brand and its messaging. They did not have to create a messaging around pricing or a range of spectacles. That is subservient. So we are in that space where we encourage the media agencies, we encourage the creative agencies to have that dialogue with such partners who come up with solutions. We are also in the space where we ourselves go and talk to people. We are also aware about the challenges that our trade and sales teams face when it comes to looking at stock fulfillment, when it comes to looking at inventory management. So there are some solutions that exist there, and if somebody else who looks at it from a fresh pair of eyes, he will realize, I can pick and drop the solution over here because this is applicable here as well. So those are certain things that we are doing successfully. We're not limiting ourselves to thinking about, or we're not obsessed with the solution. We're obsessed with the problem. So I think there's another question on activation or digitization of packs, right? So at least 10 or 11 years ago, QR
अक्षय
code
तेरे को
started.
क्वेश्चंस भी याद है ना?
मैं डर गया आपका मेल देख के कि तेरे को सवाल पूछेंगे लोग. तो I am terrified of Megha. First I declined this invite and then she said no, nonsense, you don't have an option. So I said okay. तो इसलिए मुझे वो कुछ याद है because I said I should ideally connect it in terms of wherever those questions come in. So on Pactivation, if you are able to educate the consumers on, say, application, L'Oreal does that a lot, or beauty brands do it a lot when it comes to hair care, so that you don't miss your roots when you're coloring your roots. So if your product pack itself is able to communicate that to the customer, the experience of teaching him allows you to get his email address or phone number. You can, send out a survey form to him, or you can send him a sample to cross-sell or upsell him to another, SKU. Or you can save media monies by not targeting him via media or just sending him an email. So those opportunities on, say, activations have grown up. 10 years ago, I was saying QR codes काफी बड़े होते थे and किसी ने use नहीं किया because our cameras were not programmed to scan QR codes. And when COVID came in, menus at restaurants changed that entire experience for us. So now everybody knows how to scan. So people are now made aware of it. So I think that is the way we look at applications of these. We also have a dedicated team internally to whom we can go and complain, saying this is a problem. Has this been solved anywhere? Can we digitize postcards where we can look at a solution where when we check out of a supermarket and they scan our products with that scanner, which is called OCR, optical character recognition. Even if that solution can be used in a bunch of ways, is it a way that we can record data from SMSs, postcards, people who are submitting entries at an event, and that itself can get into consumer data. And then once you have data, then you go back to the media agency. The media agency says, oh, I have a lot of personalization solutions ready for you, name, email address, PIN code. And then that part of the marketing tech stack can flow for you.
Thank you. Sorry, again, the echo is there.
No worries.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Akshay. So one more question. So this is related to the relationship. Now that you have been on both sides, be it on the agency and also on the client side. After COVID, we have seen that a lot of dynamics were changing between that relationship, and we have seen client is working with us as a partner. And now the recession has hit us, and we are seeing the budget cut. It's happening everywhere. And the question is two-part. One, has Mondelēz been affected with that? Two, so what do you see the future like, and how do you see, like, is there any course correction required to do for the relation to maintain between agency and client? So how do you think we should be working? So now that like we have been told more to be more empathized towards the clients now, knowing that what they are going through. So do you want to add anything to that? And is there any tip you want to give it to us?
I won't say the relationship has changed. I think it will just evolve. I think the same thing that happened during the time when we were making inroads into mobile, and the question was, are media agencies capable to look at mobile-based advertising? So similarly, now with this crazy push called COVID that we've had, there's this other joke that came in during COVID, right? That COVID has become the chief transformation officer for most companies. So uh, because of which, I think what has happened is uh, agencies and clients have had no choice but to ramp up their capabilities on digital. And something that I realized after a couple of years of working is that digital media is not the same as digital marketing. Marketing is such a huge landscape that it involves everything that can be digitized. So digital media is just a small part of it. So within these changes that have crept in, what is your policy in terms of data acquisition and storage? Are your products on e-commerce? There's no option. Everybody had to go on e-commerce when the lockdown happened. Two, are you working independently, or do you have the right enablers in terms of warehousing and shipment? That's one. And the other part also is what are the other evolutions that have happened in terms of consumer touch points? Gaming became very big. I remember reading a GWI report that said that people have started working out because everybody was locked at home and they had nothing to do. So people started working out. So that became a consumer trend, which was not a media touch point, but it was a behavior. So, those are areas that you need to find out, okay, the consumers are doing more of this. It's not always limited to that reach and affinity bar graph about television, social, radio, Star TV, YouTube, and the hours spent. So what are the other things that they are doing? How can you create a meaningful dialogue with them? Recently, Malaysia celebrated their Independence Day, and this was for Jacobs crackers. We also have Jacobs. The other brand that we have is Ritz. So Jacobs said that, a lot of people have these wristwatches which are calculating their steps. What if we tell people that on this Independence Day, let's pledge to be healthy for our nation? And all you need to do is just sign up with the Google Fit app and share the number of steps that you've done. And the number of people who maximize their steps over a number of days will get rewarded. Uh, Jacobs would have never found that dialogue convincing 6 years ago. But we realize that it's a space that we can make a conversation. Jacobs is about healthy eating, it's crackers, and people participated, people engaged with us, people shared their data with us in terms of how many steps have they taken and how much workouts they have done. So finding the right area to have that dialogue is as important as not force feeding yourself into saying something which you feel is right or your brand wants to have a conversation in. So brand, it's not necessary to have a brand purpose. It's okay if you're saying I'm the tastiest chocolate, but if you can find a place to connect to that customer, ensure it's right, and ensure there's the right value exchange that you're giving to the consumers to participate. Does that help?
Anil has gone on mute. Yeah, I think he has some
Yeah.
connectivity.
So there's some echoing was happening.
No worries.
Okay.
Right. So Adi, you
Alex?
have a question.
Yeah. So just had a question regarding the consumer journey. Like if I'm at a store, if I'm buying some things and I just pick up chocolates, so that happens as a notion. But when it comes to online purchasing, how do you create that need for one to actually put a box of chocolates or a chocolate in the cart? Especially if you're buying on Amazon or something, it has to be a bulk buy, I'm assuming, right? So how do you push that need for customers to buy a chocolate rather than being an impulsive buy on offline?
Sure. So I think the most important thing in terms of e-commerce is most of the people will go to a Lazada or a Shopee or an Amazon or a Flipkart when they know what they want to buy. I have friends who will just do window shopping in terms of deal surfing, but a lot of people will go when they want to add biscuits or milk. From organic standpoint, are your products even appearing when that search is being made is very, very crucial. So a key share of winning that battle is ensuring that your presence on that marketplace is optimized. Same what we used to do for websites in terms of SEO. That entire conversation has shifted here. Second thing to do is check whether you have the variations that the customer is looking for. Is he looking at rice milk? Is he looking at oat milk? Is he looking at slim milk? Is he looking at fat-free milk, or is he looking at flavored milk? Whatever that might be. If you don't cater to those, that's okay. But if he's looking for milk, you're there. The other thing that we've also seen is after that, how well are you pitched against customers in terms of pricing? A lot of us, at least I do this, I add products to the cart, and then before checking out, I make comparisons in terms of volume and pricing or delivery dates, and then I exclude. So when it comes to e-commerce, there are almost 10 to 15 variables that you have to try and optimize and do good on to ensure that that add to cart happens. Even if you are one product and you realize that your product is the only product which is having a 5-day delivery, whereas everything else in your cart is on a 3-day delivery, you lost the game. No matter how attractive your price was, you were throwing a party, you needed that product, you lost the game. So when it comes to e-commerce, on-site presence, which is your search excellence, then your fulfillment taken, how well are you mapped against customers, and then there are certain value exchanges that come from the marketplaces as well. Cash on delivery, that's one. Shipping days I mentioned. Are there any other values that you're giving? So in Southeast Asia, the ecosystem has been gamified a lot because of the Chinese and the Korean app influence. So your purchases earn points for you, which you can, use for future discounts. So those are also certain additions. Do take a look at any of the Southeast Asian apps, Lazada or Shopee on desktop, and you'll see there's a lot of work happening there. There are live streams happening. There's affiliate marketing happening. There is show and tell products happening. Influencers are coming in talking about it, or they're part of affiliates. So over here, I think because of the Chinese and the Korean, Japanese influence, there's a lot more that happens than what happens in, back home on an Amazon or a Flipkart. So these are some of the variables that are very important to you to ensure that they are fulfilled. Otherwise, tomorrow you're running a CPAS campaign and the client will say your conversion rates are not matching. So I think that's just 50% of the game. Your conversion rates are only going to be as good as these other variables that are in place.
Got it. Thank you, Akshay.
Thank you so much. Renu, you have a question?
Yeah. Hey, Akshay, and the question is actually, linked to the discussion that we were having before Aditya popped in the question. So the question is, now you said that you figure out such micro opportunities and you try to kind of leverage those micro opportunities to create those interesting campaigns. But there are clients who would have a certain set of questions on those micro opportunities also. Taking a case here, like you said, we saw that opportunity now. People are more health conscious and people are using those fitness apps to count on their steps, to count the kind of hard points they are earning, or maybe what kind of calories they are burning, right? But still, that market is not that big. So how do you kind of justify the ROI versus investment kind of decision, which is basically a very boardroom kind of discussion before you get approvals on such campaigns? Or how do you kind of later on attribute success to such initiatives that Mondelēz or Cadbury in those senses keep on doing?
Fair, fair. So these innovative ideas or these innovative campaigns, they are not your core communication that appears for a 6 to 8 week period twice or thrice a year. These are campaigns that happen at a certain point in time. So for example, let's take up the Shah Rukh Khan campaign. That was a Diwali campaign. At other times of the year,
Right.
Cadbury is talking about different things. On Valentine's Day today, they have spoken about a bunch of different things. So the core essence of Cadbury is maintained by the creative agencies, which is generosity, being kind, reveling in somebody else's happiness. That is consistent across the comms. In terms of ROI, there are a lot of best practices that you can ask for depending upon who is doing those MMMs for the clients that you work with. There will be certain to-dos and there'll be certain do-nots which are very clearly mapped out. And as much as you can recognize those, then you can take your bets in terms of whether this is something that you can do or not. And then any idea is only as good as the support it can get. So ensuring there's enough of monies behind it from a paid media, owned media, earned media standpoint, ensuring there is, if you're doing something which is not just communication related, but also with regards to an actual SKU available in store, ensuring availability is there. You can't go high on media or on TV and then expect that product not to be there in the market, and then you will feel that the idea didn't work. So it's tricky because there's so much to it that you have to try and align and cross align and ensure it's there. But it's not these tactical ideas that are, uh, how do I say, not making impact to ROI, but they're backed up with enough amount of media support or retail support to ensure they're landing well. And yeah, did I cover your points in terms of the question?
Yeah, to some extent, yes, but I'm like, still like I'm just stuck. Like, MMM is happening post the campaign.
Yeah.
Attribution is happening post the campaign. Distribution is something that's like, a hygiene, and one has to take care of it. And when you are launching a new campaign, I'm sure each brand takes care of those aspects very well. Now, but when you have to kind of get the budget approval on such campaigns, because in such campaigns also the investments are too heavy in terms of,
Yeah.
while getting the idea, you have to get a very different kind of AV, a very different kind of media spread, right?
Yeah.
Then you are putting a lot of media monies also, and I'm sure those, like, while those media monies are not your BAU kind of campaign, but they are like those smaller burst campaigns. So to get those monies signed, I have seen while I was working with the like media brand managers going, gung-ho about the campaigns, but then they do not get those kind of budgets approved because, I can't say whether this is gonna give you a boost of this much percentage of market share, or your recall is gonna go like this, or maybe your awareness increases. So I'm like if such question pops out in that conference room where you have to kind of
Yeah.
make the larger team agree to it, what are those hygiene things that one must take care of getting those approvals in place?
Okay, fair. So I think Ahana has also asked a question, what is the one positive of working in the FMCG side? And the answer to Ahana's question is also partly answering your question. None of these campaigns or these ideations happen at a plus 90 or a plus 120 day period. Some of them take 2 years in the making. Like for example, a product launch takes 4 years in the making because you have to get the product right in terms of the recipe mix, in terms of what is the feedback from the consumer. And then when variation A, B, C, D, E out of these recipes that you've made, you finalize on one recipe that is what is going to go to market. Then you create your alliance in terms of partners to take that take that product to market. So I would say all of these ideas, the God is in the details. These plans don't happen, like I said, at a plus 60 or a plus 90.
Right.
At an annual level, if you are clearly being given the cascade that these are the initiatives that we want to take, do take it into consideration that your media inputs are there. What is the agenda of that launch? Is it going to give you market share? Is it going to give you, increased penetration, or are you trying to just simply launch a product in a test pilot area to see whether the feedback from the consumers is great? And then, of course, availability or sampling also comes into place. So all those cards are laid out on the table that if this has to succeed, these are the minimum investments that we need across pillars. It's not just media, it's not just trade, it's not just stocks. And then at that point itself, the brand or the marketing teams would say, okay, I don't think we can do this year. Let's push it for next year, or let's push it for the year after that. So that's the kind of thinking that goes into it. Tactical innovations, activations, yeah, those budgets can always be found. Those budgets can always be plugged into what we have at an existing campaign. MMMs you mentioned come up post, but their learnings are not only applicable or understood after post. You can still employ them for almost a 24-month period, because MMMs take into consideration the full year. So those ramifications or those learnings can also be taken, forward for all other campaigns or applications.
Cool. I think it helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Akshay. Anna, you have a question? Is it answered or do you have a different one? Yeah.
So Akshay, you already answered part of it, the FMCG part of it. But in terms of work culture, what would you say was a major positive or a negative when comparing India and Singapore?
So the Singapore office is the Southeast Asia and AMEA head office, and which is mostly the case for a lot of companies, where either Dubai, Bombay, or Singapore would be the head office, right? So I think the culture over here is know what you have to do, get it done. What becomes one of the biggest learning experiences after coming from the agency to the client side is not everything is important. Focus on what is immediate and focus on what might have long-term ramifications. Basis that, I would say the work culture, it has its ups and downs. Festive periods of Ramzan, Christmas, Songkran in Thailand, which is similar to Holi in India. Those are the periods that you have a lot of work happening. And to be honest, some of the work doesn't happen at around those campaigns. It happens at the plus 90, plus 120-day period, because that's when you're already ensuring you're executing well. So I would say it's a bit of both. There are phases where you don't know where time went, but there are certain days where you feel, okay, today I can block 4 hours for myself and figure out what I need to do or cater to people. I would say both have their pluses and their minuses. On the agency side, you're constantly meeting publishers, partners, and that keeps you on your feet in terms of what all you can execute. Over here, you have to wait. You have to give out that brief, ensure the brief is complete. You don't want Mega Ahuja saying, "ये brief है, ये किसने लिखा?" So those challenges are very, very, very inside my head every time I'm writing a brief, because I come from the other side of the table. I'm like, yeah, people on the other side shouldn't, say, "ये किसने लिख के भेजा है?" So yeah, I think it's a bit of both.
Okay, thank you.
Akhila, you have a question?
Yeah. Hi, Akshay. So basically,
Akhila.
my question was, so having worked in Mondelēz myself, I very well understand in terms of the communication that they have, right? By the nature of the category,
Yep.
it's like an impulse-driven category. So in the core communication itself is to drive temptation. So I want to basically ask that between India and say Singapore or Korea for that matter, is there any key differentiator in terms of the kind of communication strategy that is there, apart from driving temptation? Is there any other unique way that you guys target the consumers?
No, so I think what is common is if you eat in McDonald's in Hong Kong, you realize they also serve rice in the McDonald's there. So I think the localization is the only challenge or only differentiator. Or Kit Kat, have you eaten the matcha flavor of Kit Kat that you get in Japan and some of the
Yeah,
Southeast Asia? So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the localization that you have to cater to. If you don't cater to local consumers and local tastes, your product will not get picked up. You can't say, no, this is how I've been selling this product in India or in the UK or in Brazil, and this is how
Correct.
it will be sold over here. It won't get picked up by the consumer. So we have done that. We bring in a lot of flavors. We currently have a lychee orange flavor which we've launched around Chinese New Year for Oreo. Sorry,
Okay.
Priya. Sorry again, it's not available in India, but we have a lychee orange flavor. We have the US market is crazy. If you ever follow the Oreo accounts on social media in the US, they do a lot of flavors all the time. We also do it, but for us, it's important that the main vanilla flavor Oreo is always in strength. Do we differentiate customers differently? No, the approach is the same, but yes, you need to know how the person in the house in each of these markets will buy their toothpaste and their soap. As social scientists, we need to know how
Correct.
grocery packs up,
Correct.
how
Like,
grocery fulfillment happens. So those behaviors, of course, you need to have awareness about nuances known of, but products have to localize, not all the time. If it's a hit product like the Kit Kat chocolate, for example, or Ferrero Rocher somebody mentioned, or the Oreo, they will set sail. But for your growth to come, for your portfolio to increase and cater to evolving market tastes, you need to bring flavorisms into place from time to time.
I would just like to add on to that and ask another example. Like, say, for example, in India, right? I will take two very different brands. The flagship brand, which is Cadbury Dairy Milk, it caters to masses. So, if you've seen, obviously, they use a lot of emotion while communicating their products, be it the Shah Rukh Khan ad, and they are
Yep.
very much in the generosity aspect of it, right? While a brand like, say, Five Star, it's a very youth-centric brand.
Yep.
So, they are like complete opposites. So, is that differentiation there over there also? Within the Mondelēz portfolio and the brands?
Yeah. So generosity, like I mentioned, is common. You can go to the UK. Generosity is common as a theme. The interpretation might vary slightly. For example, Europeans are not as how do I say this? Uh, they're not as Indian in terms of their expressions or their, the way they interact with people. Of course, those cultural nuances are there, but generosity is common across the board. Uh, and that is communicated in a local context. So the brand will be the same. You might even find the flavors slightly different in terms of, tempering to sweetness, cocoa, sourcing. So those aspects are there, but the others are constant.
Got it. So, just one more question I had. When you was telling Priya that, in order to launch that Blackpink Oreo, the scale was not there in India. So I think I misheard or not was not able to hear properly. But can you please throw some light in terms of what you mean by not having enough scale in India? What is
How
the
many people?
context?
Okay. How many people are Blackpink fans in India? From that perspective.
Okay, okay.
So if you
It's
remember
niche.
a couple of years ago, yeah, it's very niche, but not in
Mhm.
Southeast Asia. In Southeast Asia, people, like I said, there's been black marketing happening about the biscuits, and we have been
Mhm.
giving away these memorabilia cards. So those kind of that kind of feedback we won't get, but that happens in India. Thumbs Up has a different brand ambassador in the South. Diljit Dosanjh is the ambassador for Maggie in Punjab. That
Right.
that is also happening in India. There are very few
Hmm.
faces that are mass faces like a Shah Rukh Khan or an Amitabh Bachchan who will cater to everybody in India or get recognized. So
Right.
that was the reason why it was not clearly fitting into an India scope. It basically answered our call in terms of taking that product to market.
Got it, got it. Because like Priya mentioned, right, even the Korean culture is becoming huge in terms of fan following and everything. It's picking up pace significantly year on year.
Yes. Yes.
So, I think such brands should actually come to India that we can also get a taste of it. Yeah, that is slightly a personal request, but yeah, I understand what you meant. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Ritesh, you have a question?
Yes, I do. So, hi,
Yes.
Akshay. And first off, thanks so much for the vote of confidence on MMMs. Megha, please make a note. And I say that because I lead the MMM teams here at Densu X. So my question to you is actually not MMM related, Akshay. It's more about, uh, you know, obviously, I think and most of us are aware of the fact that, obesity, diabetes, heart issues and all of that tend to be silent killers, and they're really huge
Yep. Yep.
in terms of that. So uh, when Mondelez is now moving towards the whole health conscious part of it, right? Can you throw some light on how Mondelez is addressing or engaging with customers around issues of this nature to try and at least build that bridge which says, hey, we're not just about sugar and chocolate, but this is, we have a conscience,
Okay.
and here
So
it is.
yeah, sure. So I am fortunate to have. Is this blurry or is this okay? You can see this, right? This is Tiger Biscuit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Anna, it's chocolate flavored, by the way. This you also get in the regular wheat flavor. So chocolate is, getting people to eat the product in a much better way. The on pack labeling tells me that it has 5 vitamins. It has 3 minerals. It also specifies the portion that you should eat in one sitting. So next time you buy an Oreo, you will see it has, I think, three uh three three biscuits which specify how much it should be eaten in one go. It also specifies the amount of energy that it has, and it's right on the front. Okay, it's not at the back. I mean, we have it on the back on that table also, but it's on pack. are we speaking to, again, I would be out of my depth to comment on this, but this is typically the R&D team which sits and, puts these products in the kitchen. They are the ones who are aligned with multiple norms. They are, I think, also in touch with different associations in terms of the commitments, guided by these associations in terms of what percentage of the product should have what exactly. So yeah, those inputs come in from their side. They are the ones who put this into place. And then I think when it comes to the creative agency, they can be told that, now in chocolate flavor, or now with the goodness of 5 vitamins and 3 minerals, that communication can move forward. But I think we have our connections in the right places to get this kind of advice from, and also our feet on street who get that kind of information to identify trends. But when it comes to actually putting it together in the kitchen, there's a bunch of specialists who do that.
Related question. Um, any plans of introducing Belvita into the India market?
I won't know. I don't think so.
Healthy snacking options.
Yeah. So I think from that perspective, no, even in Southeast Asia, we have Jacobs, we have Ritz. A year ago, we launched crackers in the Philippines, 3 variant flavors of crackers in the Philippines. Again, tiger crackers. But no, not that I am aware of in Southeast Asia.
Cool. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Akshay.
Thank you. So we have a little surprise planned for you, and I'd like to. Okay, there's a question from me.
Yeah, just
Megha, do you have a question? Yeah.
yes. Just adding on to what Vitesh was asking, right? In terms of healthy snacking, and you mentioned that the vitamins or whatever is mentioned on the pack and in front of the pack, but in general, the perception of chocolates, biscuits,
Yeah.
in general is not healthy, right? If you ask someone who's into fitness or nutritional value, then how are we tackling that? Is it only through the packaging, or is it through other various content creation in that space, or what is it that we are doing for Mondelēz to
Yeah,
speak
so
to that?
I think our packs also mention how much should be consumed in a portion, in a sitting. What we're also talking about is the contains half a glass of milk. We're aware that if you are living on a diet of chocolate and biscuits, it's not the right thing to do. So for us, educating the customers is on packs, on a retail space. But in terms of marketing communication, we are answering their requirements in terms of a chocolate flavored biscuit, or Tang, for example, in a local flavor. Tang is also our brand. Tang coming out in a local flavor with nutritional value, something that you can pick up alongside your meals instead of a carbonated sugary beverage. So those are the kind of communications that we are putting forward, but it's not on the mainstream marketing channels that you would see.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akshay. I think we spoke about chocolate so much we got handed over Cadbury's.
Yeah, that's the one I really like. That's the one I really like. You don't get that here.
Okay, so we have a little surprise planned for you. It's not as sweet as Cadbury, but we hope that you like it. I'd like to call her Simran to just present that to you.
Hey, hi,
Yeah,
Akshay. So firstly, I just want to ask permission. Are you okay to extend the session for a few more minutes, or is it a hard stop by 4:30? At least in our time,
So
4:30.
we can extend by another 15 minutes.
या वो बोलते हैं ना कि मस्ती हमेशा क्लास के बाद होती है. So
I can stay.
so
Yeah.
we have taken the liberty of stealing a few pictures of your social networking, and we play this game where we call it Chitra Katha, where we find few pictures where which requires some more context or some more story behind those pictures. It is really interesting because we get to know you also as a person. So just showing you the pictures, the slides.
Oh my God. Okay.
So tell us, how do we upgrade ourselves gulping down Shivas?
This was not my thumb was plugging the pourer. I was challenged that I should. I was told that it'll be given to me, which is what they call a layback. That's why I've said laybacks are good. But then I said, okay, I will help myself. I don't want to be doused with Shivas, so I blocked the pourer with my thumb. Luckily, nobody noticed, so it played out funny.
Nice. Move next. Yeah, inspiration, Ritik or Shahrukh?
Inspiration are these two wonderful colleagues of mine who saw this bandana or durag lying next to my this was my I think this was a trip that we had taken with the office people. So yeah, so they got me on. I'm more of an old school 90s Akshay Kumar fan, so I think not the Hrithik types for me.
Nice. What about you and snakes? I see a lot of snake pictures also where you're holding a lot of snakes, but this picture got us, interested, saying the baby cobra catcher.
I've been rescuing reptiles since I was 13. So my dad was in the army, so we were always around, these places where they were in abundance and we were in their area most of the time. So killed a couple and then, did not feel good about it. And after that, kind of educated myself on recognizing them, how to catch certain. So I've been like, yeah, I was, I think 13 or 14, I started rescuing them since then. So I think that's the comment that has been put by friends who were catching up in, I think, Delhi back then.
Nice.
I don't think
I
the
see it's
restaurant
a.
exists anymore.
Is it?
I think they closed
Okay.
it down or somebody, management changed hands. It was a fantastic place to go to at Habitat Center, but I that's what I've heard
No,
about
no,
it.
it's still there. Still there.
Still there? Thank God.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
very
people from
much.
Delhi should answer that question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm in
I
a
see
small
that
neighborhood called Gurgaon.
I see that, your whole family is very creative. Looking at the Rakis, even our beloved Megha was jealous, saying, even I wish I was a boy and I used to get Rakis like this.
No, this is sisters trying to embarrass me because they know I cannot not wear it. And Rakhi is not a holiday, so you have to go to work. So all those pictures, I think if you see the backgrounds, those are all office environments that those pictures have been taken in. So they would make it a point to go and find the biggest childish Rakhi they could get. And yeah, that's the story behind these. In fact, one of my friend who's commented on almost all the pictures. She texts me if I don't put a picture up on Instagram, and she asks me, "इस साल क्या लगाया है हाथ पे?" But yeah, that's my sister's trying to bully me.
Nice. We all agree that grandparents are a blessing in our life. Could we have something more on this picture?
That's my dear departed granddad. I lost him 1.5 months before my 10th board, so it was a difficult time. This is the consulting area of my aunt's hospital. My aunt is a gynecologist in Pune, and I think they were setting up this hospital, and he had, being the dad that he was, prompt himself on the doctor's seat and said, I'm the boss here. That's what he's trying to say. I think it was taken sometime in the evening. I don't even remember. I was fairly young, so I've just come and propped myself in the corner there. So it's a very good picture that I can look back to.
Thank you. What about this? We're really, really curious to know the actual story of Parmano. I'm pretty sure you would have much more beyond than just the movie.
Yeah, this is not Parmano. This is back somewhere in the fields of Punjab, looking at their outfits, so I was born in Pathankot in a village called Meerthal. My father's battalion was in charge, or their specialization was anti-tank warfare. So they were always on the western fronts. So this has been taken somewhere there, but I always got a lot of questions about people asking me if I've seen Parmanu, because dad was responsible for one of the security rings. There were about 7 to 8 security rings
Okay.
around the site. So he was responsible for one of them, and that's him sitting with his sunglasses, like a like a cool dude on the jeep.
I'm pretty sure you'll be doing the same with your team over there and back in office.
Not even close.
Could you tell us some positivity that you got out of this book? Because this book was something that you posted, and it seemed to be a nice title also, The New Life.
So the funny thing is, I have not posted a second picture of the book because, and I've also said the beginning of a new book. I couldn't get past the first 30 pages. So it did not, it's still lying on my shelf, something that I have to go to. It came recommended by a very good friend of mine, but I could not finish it. I couldn't go beyond the first 30 pages.
But we have given you a reminder to go back to the book.
I will.
Uh, the last picture, it was a tough time, COVID. Everyone went through a lot. And this was your last picture of 2020. So, what would be that one takeout that you learned from COVID and that would help us in every individual to proceed with ourselves in our own lives?
Yeah, so this picture was last picture of interesting that you mentioned is the last picture that year, but it was taken very, very early. I was in Manila. You remember 2020 was a horrible year. Australia had forest fires, which started in January. And then in February, a volcano in Manila erupted, which was about 1.5 hours away from Manila. So we were wearing masks right since then. And uske baad when COVID hit, the hospitality sector shut down. So the thing about this picture is that because I was doing a shift at a bar, I had become friends with the entire hospitality community in Manila. And it was really sad to see them get impacted so badly. Some of them had put in their monies. Some of them had set up their entire bars by themselves. And when this lockdown happened, they were really hurting because they had bills to pay, they had rental agreements signed on, and it brought out not the best in us because a lot of people were also surviving. So I think that time was very, very difficult for all of us, and there were some horrific visuals coming out of India as well. Uh, and yeah, I think I came back in a Vande Bharat flight, which was all wrapped up in plastic. And we don't, India doesn't have a flight direct to Manila. So this one was a direct 7 hour, 6 hour, 7 hour flight. It was claustrophobic, it was sticky. But I think it was just important to be kind and be nice to each other. I think uh, one of the reasons that I'm still in touch with Megha after all these years is that she always had a good intent at heart when it came to working with me or for me. So I just try and recreate that experience for other people that I'm working with. In the words of my dad, you are selling chocolates and soap and toothpaste. You're not saving anybody's life. To learn how to take a break. It's not critical, and it's yeah. I think that's what is there. This was a whiskey sour, Aditya. Not in the right glass that it should be in, but I don't think we had the right glass available that day. But it is a whiskey sour. That's correct.
You are on mute, Simran.
Yeah, so over to Megha. Thank you so much for this session.
Thank you, Arsen. Thank you so much. It was lovely.
Thank you, Akshay, for being a
Thank
really
you.
good sport. Thank you so much. And I think whenever you are in Bombay, let's catch up soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Thank
also
you
when
for
you're in
taking out
Bangalore
this time.
also, our office is here in the city center only. So better than Mumbai office. Please do come here. And we will get
Bangalore
contact
is
so that
half.
you can.
Bangalore is half my home because my sister-in-law is on Defense Colony, 1,000 feet road, 100 feet road. What is it?
100 feet road.
100. I don't know why I keep saying 1,000 feet road and people make fun of me. But yeah, she's there. That's where I come frequently whenever I'm in Bangalore. But no, thank you for having me. It's so nice to have a candid chat with everybody and share our experiences. Some of your questions made me think in certain ways that I could possibly now feel answer better. So thank you for spending time. I know it's 4:30 and it's middle of the week. You must be having a lot of requests and questions coming in. So super appreciate making time for me. Thank you for having me, Megha. Genuinely appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Akshay. Thank you. Have a
Thanks
good
again,
week
Akshay.
ahead.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Steve.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Akshay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.